It's been about 2 months since the release of the Nintendo Switch game ARMS, and so far we've had tons of tournaments, both offline and online, as well as one big update to the game. The update included a new character to the now 11-man roster, 3 new ARMS and a signature home stage for the newly released character. The update also showed some promise as it added an arena mode for competitive play, along with some well-needed balance patches and bug fixes. With the recent release of Splatoon 2 to the Nintendo Switch, many have been wondering what will happen to ARMS, as the developers has been very quiet as of late. The community has eagerly been waiting for news, and earlier this week Nintendo announced through their Japanese ARMS Twitter that another balance patch will go live this coming week. Now, a balance patch doesn't sound like much, and with players starting to worry about the pacing and the lack of updates, the future of ARMS has been put into question. However, I'm excited to share some news with everyone as I've been able to get in contact with a person who has hacked into the game's files, uncovering previously unknown information and what we believe to be upcoming unreleased content for the game. As the person has wished to stay anonymous, only being credited as Goldflame, I have the previous guest from Fellows in Arms, Isaac, with me, who will tell us more about what we don't know about ARMS.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so again, I'm friends with Goldflame, and he's a data miner for ARMS. We got the ROM for the game from someone, and he's been looking through it and sharing a lot of that with me, and I'm here on his behalf today. So all credit goes to Goldflame. And so here you can see this is a screenshot of all the files that are within a file called network matching icon, and these are all the thumbnails for the stages that you see when you are going into a stage, like in multiplayer. So here you can see this is the thumbnail for the stage Bowl, and on the left you can see the list of all the stages. So there's Up Down, which is Mechanica's Workshop, and this one's called Bowl, which is, Min Min's the Noodle stage. And so what we found in the thumbnail files we found, and I switched, there is supposed to be a thumbnail for a stage called Crank. You can see it here. It's blank. Unfortunately, there's no picture, but you can see that it was meant to be in the multiplayer. You're supposed to be able to play with other people, and it was basically mostly implemented. I'm going to show some other things that Goldflame found now. You can see that in the sound files, there are references to music files, background music files. For example, environment stage Crank. That is how they name all the background music files. And there is one for Crank, and unfortunately, Goldflame found that there is actually no music in the game for it. There's just references, which he told me basically means that they removed it sort of late in the game, before they released the game. And it seems like they supposedly made a conscious effort to remove it. They knew that they had this stage and they didn't want to release it, so they took it out, but they forgot to completely remove it. It's also in the stage list, which includes a lot of other unused stages, such as things like Heliport. But Goldflame, and I also think this, that it was Heliport, for example, is probably just Max Brass's stage, like earlier on. But as far as we know, Crank is a whole separate thing. As you can see, there's a separate thumbnail for it. So the next thing that we have to show you is a mini-game stage. As you can see here, these are the lists of it's called Stage. The naming convention is Stage, Mini, and then the mini-game. So there's shooting, there's basket, and these are all the ones that take place on the resort island. So there's basket, there's shooting, and volleyball. And then there's another one called Mini Sighting. And the cool thing about this one is that there's actually a 3D model for it. And Goldflame was able to get that with it all textured, and here is a picture of the stage, as you can see. This is sort of a bit zoomed out. You can see the big temple in the background. There's no water, unfortunately, or ground like there's supposed to be, but you can also see that there are other tents that are supposed to be other stages. And these are renders that Goldflame made. And here's another one, which is cool. This is the actual stage. So hopefully there's going to be, so there was something planned or something that's going to be in the future, and it's a mini game called Sighting. It takes place on the resort island.
Now, one thing to note about these pictures is that while they do look like the skill shot minigame, and they do, we don't refute that, is that the placing of this file and that we are able to get a render of it suggests that there's something going on in this level. Judging from the Twitter that ARMS has, the Japanese Twitter, it could be that there is something to be found within this map. For example, there have been posts where the development team have been hiding Biff in a lot of the levels, and this could be perhaps one of those minigames that they are planning to put into the game. So I just wanted to put that in there in between here, so you guys know that we know that this looks like the skill shot level as well.
And here's the third thing. So there are all the characters. There's 3D models for all of them. Goldflame has looked through a lot of those. He showed me it's pretty cool. Back before Goldflame was really getting into this, Shiny Quagsire talked about a character called Sweet. And this is found in the parameters folder for the punches of the characters. And there are these files called the body parameter files. And Goldflame saw these, and there are some other people who have had access to files who can see these. It's just in the names of the files. It's pretty, anyone with the game, access to the game cartridge files can see this. And so I told Goldflame to see if he could find anything else out about these characters. For example, there's Boss Head, which is Headlock, but then there's something called Coil, which doesn't really sound like any character we have. There's Sweet, not really sure what that is supposed to be. Sumo. And so Goldflame looked at them, and all of the characters that aren't actually in the game have very short, much shorter files. These .bmprm files are much shorter than the ones for actual characters, such as DNA. It's a bigger file. And he looked at them, and he noticed that they're basically all the same. And there's very little variation. As you can see here, the variation is something like, it's 7 bytes. 7 bytes of variation. That's it. And so he saw that, and the really interesting thing is that that isn't true for all of them.
Now, if you were paying attention during the stream, you might have noticed a pattern in this list. There are several characters here in this list which have 2 kilobytes, which basically means they have more information in them and it's probably a lot more finished, most of them being the characters that have already been released. The exceptions being Worker, Snake, Mummy, and Ninja, which are Master Mummy, Ninjara, Kid Cobra, and Mechanica. But if you take a look at the files that has 2 kilobytes, there's one file that sticks out more than the others, and that is Plant. Now, you could also be asking, how does Goldflame and Isaac know which of the characters that are unknown and which are known? Well, they put in the extra effort and actually checked this and, compared the different files of them. And here's a picture of a list where he basically compiled the characters that are known and the characters that are unknown. Which you can see here is, for example, Max Brass being called Belt, Helix being called DNA, Master Mummy being Mummy, and so on. There's also references to Min Min in 2 different versions, an early Min Min called Pasta and the later version called Me. So there are some characters that have 2 files, which is basically probably like a beta file. There's also Twin Tail, which is an early version of Twin Tail. Then in the right-hand column, there are characters which haven't been able to be confirmed as to other characters. Now this is a speculation, but some of them could be guessed to be earlier versions of the characters that we already know. Coil, for example, being a synonym with Spring, so it could be Springman. Chain, well, Ninjara has chain arms, so it could be Ninjara. Robo could be a reference to Bite and Bark, and Sumu, well, it might just be a reference to Master Mummy before they even had the characteristics of him. But there are, except for these, there are still the characters that have no further relation with the characters that have already been released, which is Sweet, Surprise, Scroll, and Plant. And out of these 4 characters, Goldflame basically compared these characters with the others to see which one had the most or more information, and he could find that Plant has a lot more in its own file there, which suggests that Plant might just be the next character. And this is something that hasn't been mentioned in the news feed that I've been seeing now coming up the last few days, is that the reason for why Plant should be the new character is, if you take a look at the unknown characters and also the earlier versions of the other characters, which are nearly identical, Plant is the only file that does not seem identical and has a lot of information that differs from the other characters, similarly to the ones that have been released. So while this is not a solid proof that Plant will be the next character, it's a strong contender to be, and it might just be the one that is coming up in a future update very soon.
So, this is all the information that we have as of now. I've been talking more with Isaac and Goldflame, who has been continuously data mining while I've been doing this video, and there seems that there is going to be more information coming out in the coming days, weeks as well, but this is everything that we know now. I'm really curious to hear what you guys in the community think about this. What are your thoughts? Feel free to leave comments and let me know what you think and what your speculations are for the coming update, because this is really exciting, and I can't wait to see what Nintendo basically has for the game going forward. But yeah, let me know, guys, and if there are more information coming out and I get to know more about this, I will let you guys know in a future video. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can subscribe to the channel. It's up to you though, and yeah, I just hope that we get more updates for ARMS, so this is really exciting. So I guess until further notice, I'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you so much for viewing this. I hope to see you soon. Bye.